Hello, my name is Lina Reinsbakken. I am the founder and CEO of Norn Studio, a production company that focuses on immersive storytelling and transmedia content. I'm going to talk to you about my episodic VR series called Norn, the Little Grey That Matters, and the first episode, which is currently in production, called The Nine Daughters of Ran. Approximately 13 years ago, my niece was born with 6 air bubbles in her brain, and due to this, I became very interested in brain anatomy and biopsychology, and I had this idea of a fairy tale set inside the brain, which can ultimately explain to children and young adults how the brain works. But it wasn't until I rediscovered virtual reality at the London App World Convention in 2015 that the story really clicked for me. To be able to tell a story about the brain while immersed in the anatomy was to me a very, very interesting path to go down. So I made a trailer and I pitched the project at several festivals and financing forums, such as Cross Video Days in Paris and Sandbox Immersive Film Festival in Qingdao, which then ultimately culminated in me gaining creative partner in the visual effects company Digital Domain and getting funding from the Norwegian Film Institute and Mid-Norwegian Film Center. Norn, the Little Grey That Matters is a project consisting of 10 episodes of animated short films of 20 minutes each. The purpose of this adventure series will, in its entirety, serve as an introduction to brain anatomy. The Nine Daughters of Ran is the first chapter in the series and will serve as a prologue to the rest of the story. And here we aim to introduce the viewers to the characters, the theme, and the universe as a whole. This episode will depict the Norse prophecy of Ragnarok and the conflict that has arisen in the internal world. The goddesses of fate, the Norns, will use the tree of life as a metaphor for consciousness and invite the viewer to become an important part of the story itself and be taken into the interior of the brain to help the protagonist on her hero's journey. We aim to use allegories to convey the neuroscience in a more comprehensible way, where we mix anatomy and Norse mythology. The episode sets the framework for the rest of the series, which in its essence depicts how the human mind creates its own reality. Short synopsis. It's high time and civil war has struck the mind, and the dark forbidding figure of Hel is in the rise of power. She has stolen the mind's will and is about to overthrow the government with her army of stress hormones. The brain is to be subject to a new mind order, and while the will is enslaved, Hel is on the search for the one thing that will ensure her reign of power, which is the hidden key to the gates of consciousness. This is the story of Gulveig, a cognitive thought and dream designer at the Department of Fantasy. While the mind is in the middle of a civil war and the fantasy is being downsized, she is summoned to the pineal gland by Odin, the king of cognitive thinking. His assembly informs her about the destructive plans of Hel. She intends to destroy dreaming and take control of the will in order to become the supreme leader of consciousness. With the will enslaved, imagination is slowly fading and time is running out. Gulveig therefore has to embark on an epic journey with a dangerous quest to free the will from enslavement in the reptile brain and save the state of fantasy. But in order to find the key before Hel does, she will need your help. The background will be built up by the anatomy of the brain and an artistic depiction. The foreground is an imaginative story about the mental conflict that takes place in our mind between love and fear. The characters we encounter are personified brain cells and hormones, and our protagonist in the series is a female superhero, a personified cognitive thought named Gulveig, who will have to embark on the journey of a lifetime. Gulveig works daily as a dream designer at the Department of Fantasy, which is downsizing now because the brain has been taken over by fear. The character Hel, inspired by the Norse goddess of fear, is in the process of taking full control of the brain and letting fear rule. Gulveig therefore embarks on a dangerous voyage on the brainwaves to fight the battle for consciousness and save the will from captivity in the fear center of amygdala, which is also Hel's center of power. The film series offers a visually inviting adventure of overcoming fear and creating one's own reality. With this prologue and the series in its entirety, we aim to create a stylistic expression that we call Nordic sensorama. The expression is creating through the use of music, visual design, and mythology, strongly linked to the Norwegian and Nordic culture and nature. It gives a completely unique expression that helps to substantiate and convey the themes that we bring into our story. The project is divided into 10 chapters, where each volume deals with one sensory center and anatomical area of the brain. In addition, each chapter will address one mental tool that will be helpful in the fight against fear. This being intuition, memory, creativity, imagination, etc. So to sum it up, Norn, the Little Grey That Matters is a hero's journey set inside a brain, where the hero, or heroine in this case, has to fight the Queen of Fear in order to save the state of fantasy. It's also an interactive virtual reality series that explores the human brain via fairy tale. And in this immersive story invites the audience to join the heroine on her quest to deliver the will from fear and save the state of fantasy. Virtual reality is the intersection of 3 discrete storytelling methods, like narrative play, immersive theater, and film. Edward Saatchi, the former producer of Oculus Story Studio, he cites these as the 3 pillars of virtual reality storytelling. And this intersection marks the arrival of a new type of storytelling. With its unique degree of immersion, VR captures your spatial visual intelligence and takes you directly into the story. In other words, there are no separation between you and the experience. In this mode, your participation, where you see, where you move, the choices you make, effectively creates the story. You are no longer just a viewer or a listener, you are a contributor. And therefore you implant your story into your brain as if it was your own memory. As a spatial story builder, I want to create a VR series where you, as the audience, go from being a voyeur to the discovery of being an important character in the story itself. To give the audience the exciting experience of stepping into the story and being part of the story. By giving the audience the role of a hero in a hero's journey and asking them to accept the invitation into the unknown, I want to create suspension of disbelief and challenge traditional storytelling techniques. Imagine being able to join Lucy into the wardrobe, or Alice down the rabbit hole. Or even better still, put on the VR glasses and join Gylve on a quest to save the state of fantasy. Tack.